let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a biological perfect storm. What happens when your body's most crucial defense systems just shut down all at once? We're looking at a very specific, incredibly dangerous medical reality. This isn't a scenario where things just go a little bit off track. It's when things go catastrophically wrong, simultaneously. It's a deadly combination inside your bloodstream that doctors immediately recognize as an absolute crisis.
You know, there's a saying from our source material that really hits the nail on the head. Without enough plumbers, a tiny leak becomes a flood. It's such a brilliant way to frame the high stakes here. If you think about it, your bloodstream is basically this incredibly intricate pressurized plumbing system. And, well, pipes occasionally spring leaks, right? But what if the pros, whose literal only job is to fix those leaks, suddenly vanish? We're going to explore exactly what that means for survival.
All right, Section 1, the body's defense crews.
To really get this, think of your body as a bustling city. For the city to survive, it absolutely needs constant maintenance and constant security. So, on one side, we've got our plumbers. These are your platelets. Their entire job, 24/7, is to circulate through the bloodstream, hunt down any damage to the blood vessels, and immediately clump together to patch the hole. They're the reason you don't bleed out from a simple paper cut. Then, on the other side, we have your security crew. That's your white blood cells, or total leukocyte count. These are the guards on patrol. They spot foreign invaders like bacteria or viruses and neutralize them before they can take over. Normally, these two crews do their own thing, keeping you alive and kicking.
Moving on to Section 2, fired, the perfect storm.
So what actually happens when both of these vital crews get fired on the exact same day? Well, it triggers what's medically known as bicytopenia. Bi meaning two, cyto meaning cell, and penia meaning a deficiency. Basically, it's a simultaneous drop in both your platelets and your total leukocyte count. And that word simultaneous is absolutely crucial here. I mean, losing just one of these cell lines is a serious problem on its own, but losing both at the exact same time, that is the biological perfect storm. You losing your maintenance crew and your security detail all at once.
And this double failure leads straight into two disastrous consequences. First up, without your plumbers, you get thrombocytopenia. Suddenly, a tiny, everyday internal bleed, something you'd literally never notice, turns into an unstoppable flood because there's absolutely nothing there to patch the leak. Second, without the security crew, you get leukopenia. This means everyday, totally harmless bacteria living on your skin or in your gut, stuff your immune system usually swats away in its sleep, suddenly transform into deadly invaders.
Which brings us to Section 3, the deadly synergy.
Here is where the real nightmare begins. These aren't just two isolated failures. They feed off each other in this terrifying vicious cycle. Step 1. An infection easily takes hold because remember, your white blood cells are gone. That infection causes tissue damage which triggers internal bleeding. Step 2. Because your platelets are MIA, that bleeding simply cannot be stopped. And as you bleed, your body gets weaker, dropping its remaining ability to fight the infection even further. So step 3, the infection rapidly escalates, causing even more damage, which causes even more bleeding. It's a compounding loop, accelerating the body's collapse way faster than either condition could on its own.
Let's look at Section 4. What causes the storm? You're probably wondering, what kind of villain actually causes this synchronized collapse? Well, it almost always points to some highly aggressive underlying conditions. First, you have bone marrow failure. Things like aplastic anemia or acute myeloid leukemia literally destroy the factory making your blood cells. No factory means no new plumbers and no new security guards, period. Next is overwhelming infection. Severe cases of sepsis, typhoid, malaria, or dengue hemorrhagic fever are so aggressive they just consume your existing platelets and shut down the marrow, or even destroy the cells right in the spleen. And then there are autoimmune attacks. In diseases like lupus or Evans syndrome, the body gets completely confused and starts attacking its own platelets and white blood cells. It's essentially friendly fire wiping out the workforce.
A couple of other major culprits to mention here. We've got toxic destruction. Medical treatments like chemo, radiation, or even certain drugs like chloramphenicol work by killing rapidly dividing cells. Since bone marrow cells divide incredibly fast, the toxins wipe out both your platelet and white blood cell lines as collateral damage. Finally, there's severe nutritional deficiency. If someone has a profoundly advanced vitamin B12 or folate deficiency, the bone marrow just doesn't have the raw materials to build new blood cells. The factory is standing, sure, but the supply chain is completely broken.
All right, Section 5, a true medical emergency.
This is really the climax of our explainer. We need to look at the hard numbers to understand exactly when doctors hit the panic button.
When a dangerously low platelet count drops below 20,000 per microliter, you're looking at an immediate risk for spontaneous fatal bleeding. You don't even need to bump into anything. At this level, a blood vessel in your brain or stomach could just start bleeding entirely on its own. And without the plumbers, it's not going to stop.
Now pair that bleeding risk with an absolute neutrophil count dropping below 500 per microliter. At that point, the situation upgrades from critical to catastrophic. Neutrophils are the heavy hitters of your white blood cell security team. Below 500, your body is completely defenseless. You are at risk of rapid fatal sepsis from just the slightest exposure to everyday bacteria.
So, the absolute bottom line here, discovering both of these metrics together on a blood test is a massive, undeniable medical emergency. It requires immediate hospitalization, almost always right into the ICU or a specialized oncology ward. Bicytopenia is for sure not a watch-and-wait situation. You can't just send the patient home with some fluids. That deadly synergy of bleeding and infection means the clock is actively loudly ticking.
I want to leave you with this final kind of provocative thought to chew on. We walk around every single day completely oblivious to the massive, coordinated cellular effort that keeps us intact. If those microscopic plumbers and security guards just vanished tomorrow, how long do you really think you'd survive without modern medicine? It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? It highlights just how perfectly balanced your body needs to be and how fragile that balance truly is. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next one.